Right, hello again everybody. I'm now going to officially start, so thank you all for joining us live on Periscope at RTD House in Warrington, at the headquarters of the RTD Group. Brief overview is RTD Group combines EMS Internet and Appitized, and we develop websites and apps for businesses to help businesses grow. And part of our ethos is to share our expertise and to share our understanding and our knowledge of the digital world in order to help businesses work with us and also for us to be able to collaborate better with the businesses we work with. Part of one of the ways we do that is through School of Business. See the logo for that on there. School of Business combines these events, the masterclasses that we're currently running through over the next few months, and also involves networking events which we hold in Liverpool. We had the first one last month. Where we'll be hosting another one in November in Liverpool, but further notice of the dates and times and venue for that will be hopefully confirmed by the end of this week. So watch this space for that. So, excuse me, while I just have a drink. Okay, so the Twitter Masterclass. This is the second in a series of masterclasses on social media and digital marketing. The first one we did was Facebook, which went down very well. We had some really good feedback from that. So the Twitter Masterclass follows on from that and focuses more down in detail into the world of Twitter. So who am I is probably the first thing you're wondering. I'm Mike James, I'm the marketing manager for RTD. And if you want to Facebook me, I can be reached at RTD_Mike. Any questions or anything you have after this session, post them to there and I'll hopefully try and help. So the session itself will run through various issues around Twitter, what it is, how to use it to your best advantage and things like that. If you have any questions during the session, feel free to post them and we'll do our best to answer any questions you have. Okay, so let's crack on. Thank you very much. So firstly, what is Twitter? Well, you probably all know what Twitter is, but just to underline it, it's the second biggest social media platform with approximately 560 million active users currently posting every day. So that's a huge amount of people. And it does mean that in order to make your business effective on Twitter, you're going to have to be quite focused and quite targeted on what you need to do. Twitter allows you to post 140 character text posts to your followers. And its live Twitter feeds also make it great for creating and consuming information quickly and efficiently. So that's a kind of brief overview of what it is. But why should you use it? Well, these days, obviously, it's the hard sell isn't something that most businesses are finding success in. People are much more savvy to the hard sell, and conversations are the way forward. And we as a business certainly feel that collaboration, conversation, and partnerships are a better way to do business with our clients. And Twitter kind of allows that to work well from the point of view of developing warm leads and soft sell techniques about conversations and partnerships, and they really do provide results. And it's the top social platform for building strong relationships with your customer base. It's real-time feed, making it much easier to have a more authentic conversation with your followers, sharing your own expertise, having conversations about business issues, talking about your successes, and even your failures. It's a vital tool for providing customer service as well. The first thing you need to do with regards to Twitter when you're setting up your Twitter account or thinking about how you might use Twitter for your business, try and define what you want to use it for, how you want it to help grow or reach the business goals you have. That's the first thing you should really try and do in terms of making sure Twitter's effective for you, rather than just leaping in there and sending out loads of messages. Really, really clearly think about and write it down as well and brainstorm with the rest of your team. What is it you want it to do? How do you want to approach it? What do you want to get out of it? Think about what kind of metrics you want. There are a lot of data that you can pick up about Twitter and analytics generally around your websites and things. But think about what you want to know, and think about the objective and how you're going to monitor that objective, and also how you're going to respond if that objective isn't reached. And what is the best way of tracking that progress? The amount of information that you can get around how your tweets work, etc., can be daunting. So think of ways of actually managing that information, either in spreadsheets, text documents, graphs, or whatever else you might have available to you, just so you can actually manage that data and actually work it better against the goals you've set yourself. So starting from the basics, most of you probably have Twitter accounts already because you're on Periscope and therefore you're quite aware of how these things work. But I'll just quickly go through the key things that you should think about when you're first setting up. So if you are setting up a new business account separate to your personal one, for instance, make sure you create a branded Twitter banner image and profile picture in advance. When you first go to sign up for Twitter to set up your new account, you will need to have those things available to you at that point. And make sure they're quite simple and easy to view on screen as well. Anything too complicated would just be overbearing. Choose a short branded Twitter handle. Obviously, it can get complicated if your business name is quite long. But any Twitter handle you use will take up characters within tweets that you actually use it in. So be aware of that when you're setting that up. Keep it short and simple as possible. And in order to do that, you may have to be a bit more creative and just think about how it sounds, how it reads, and things like that. And actually do a bit of work on that. Don't just jump in there. Once you have got that, make sure you search on Twitter and make sure it's available before you do anything else. Because quite often you will find that if your business name is a commonish name, it may well be being used, and you'll have to rethink and be more creative about how you use it. Define your main business keywords and include them in your character bio on Twitter. That will allow people to search for you easier and for people to understand who you are and what you do. Once you've set up your account, the first thing to do is to follow 10 key people, and that will kick off your kind of profile, if you like, in terms of the kind of people you're looking for. So think about, they could be competitors, potential current customers, or thought leaders in your sector. If you're working in the digital sector, there's a lot of people out there who are generating lots of content that is really useful in terms of what you can share and what you can post to your followers. So have a good think about that. Follow those people and start conversations with them, and that will start generating people looking at you as a business and wanting to be interested and follow you. And then the next thing would be to plan out your first 10 tweets. It sounds a bit prescriptive, but actually if you really have clearly thought about your goals for Twitter and what you want to achieve on Twitter, it should be fairly straightforward to think about what those first 10 tweets might be, what the context is, what kind of things you might want to share, what content you've got that you've already generated around your website that you might want to put out there to show some expertise in your field. And start a conversation, and then provide information. Two key things for Twitter really is about conversations and information. If you're having good, interesting conversations, people will respond and will follow you and have conversations back. And similarly, if you're providing good information, good expertise, people will be interested in what you've got to say. So let's just have a quick look at starting a conversation. One of the key ways to build a strong and loyal customer base is to have conversations, start conversations. It's important to show you're really accessible and easy and open to that. If you block at conversations, people will quite quickly decide that you're not really the person you said you were and move away. And the easiest way to keep up with what your customers need and want is to ask them directly. So post questions your followers can directly respond to. Questions about the field that you work in, the industry you work in perhaps, or ask people questions about their opinions about certain aspects of your industry. And if you're trying to build a relationship with another company, reply to the tweets they've posted, and that will start another two-way conversation. And that will really help to generate more followers for you and more interest for you, and actually the customers and the people that you're trying to build relationships will see some have some level of confidence in you as someone on Twitter for them to follow. Customer service is a very key aspect of Twitter. Obviously, any social media portal is that someone can reach you through. With that comes an added way to voice concerns, complaints, or appraisals. So the key to making sure you manage this and provide excellent customer service through Twitter is speed. The faster you can answer or solve a customer query, the happier the customer will be. And providing customer service through social media is also a great way to build a direct relationship with your customers, helping to start the conversation and providing added support. So if you are getting people tweeting complaints perhaps, the best way to deal with that is to get back to them very quickly, have a conversation about what their issue might be and try and solve it for them. And they will be very pleased and go away and talk about that. If you don't respond, they'll keep posting messages and keep talking to you or about you. And similarly, if they're praising you, use that praise, have a conversation with them, get more information, and turn that into something you can use on your website, perhaps as a testimonial or a case study about the work you've done for them if they're really pleased with it. Building brand awareness is one of the things Twitter really is strong at. Combining some of the points we've already touched on, customer service and communication, conversations, relationships, It can help you build a strong, positive reputation for your brand online. As we just said with customer service, if you manage that well, your brand online will be reflected back from the positives you get out of that. The key to bringing brand awareness through any social media platform, of course, is personality and consistency. If you can show your company has a human side and that it's easy for people to connect to and be consistent with your posts and show you're engaged and focus on building customer relations, people will follow you, read what you're saying and understand it and be confident with the way you work and do business. And that will reflect strongly for your brand and grow your brand's profile on Twitter and in the wider networks you work in as well. Okay. So talking networks, social media is great for business-to-business marketing and networking with other industry leaders and businesses. Using the same techniques as building strong customer relationships, you can also use conversions online to network. Social media in a way can be seen as one giant 24/7 networking event. It gives you the ability to network with a wide range of businesses from all around the world at any time of the day. And that kind of involves sparking up conversations with businesses you like to work with. As we said earlier, the conversation is key. Those 10 businesses that you connected with right at the beginning of your Twitter journey for your business may well generate business directly for you or for other people in that network. Referrals from that sort of network can be very important. And it also, with collaboration, will help to start that initial contact and could lead to great things. Networking in the context of actually physically going out to meetings and networking. If you're at an event and you're tweeting about the event in a positive way and connecting with people at that event on Twitter, again, that generates a wider network and people will then be following you after the event and continuing those conversations. So moving into more sort of technical issues now, we're going to look at using lists. Twitter lists allow you to create customized news feeds. These feeds will only include tweets from accounts you've added to that list. It's a great tool for marketing in terms of targeting people specifically. And if you have customers or businesses you really want to keep up to date with or focus on building relationships with, lists can help you keep track of what they're posting and make interacting with them a lot easier. So lists are a great way of letting people know that you're paying attention to them. Any accounts that are added to a public list will get a notification. So you set up the list, make it public, add businesses to it, and that business will get a notification saying you've just added them to that list. So you've got to make sure your lists are relevant and also keep the list name complementary because people will see that obviously. And adding people to your list is a great way of showing them that you're interested in them and you've got confidence in them as a business and you want to share what they're doing as well. And will generate further collaborations in terms of the networks you have on Twitter. Accounts added to private lists, however, will not be notified and only you will be able to see the list and who is in it. Of course, you can keep that private lists for wanting to track certain things on Twitter or certain topics on Twitter around certain different industries if you don't necessarily want to share that information. Okay. Moving on to other aspects, retweets, direct messaging, favourites and mentions. All of these four things are crucial in terms of how you interact and how you collaborate via Twitter. Retweeting is basically when a user on Twitter reposts one of your posts into their own timeline, letting their direct followers see your content. So basically, if you post a really, really interesting piece of content on Twitter, and one of the people who's following you sees it, really likes it, retweets it, it'll then appear on their timeline, which means basically you're reaching out to an extra number of people. So you've reached all the people who are following you, you've then reached all the people who are following the other business or the person who's retweeted it, and so on and so on. So it exponentially increasing the number of people seeing your content, which again is a great way of interacting and building networks. Direct messaging is basically a private messaging feature. So if there's someone on Twitter who you're really interested in, you want to have a conversation with, but you don't necessarily want it to be public, send them a direct message. No character limits, and only the people involved in the message can see them. So it's not public, it doesn't appear on the timeline. You can also do group direct messages for private group conversations. So you could set up a little network of people on Twitter who you want to have a conversation with, maybe on a collaborative project. Twitter might be a good way of having that conversation. Favourites, similar to the like function on Facebook. Again, when someone favourites your tweet, they're saving it to their favourites list. And that's a nice way, if you favourite other people's tweets, it's a nice way of just showing a kind of recognition and a qualification, if you like, and sort of say, yeah, really like what you're doing, and hopefully that again generates them following you, talking to you, and conversations. Mentions, when a user tags your Twitter handle in their tweet, you get a notification telling you you've been mentioned in another user's tweet. And that's a really, really useful thing, because it kind of means that your Twitter handle is featured on their timeline, all their followers are seeing your Twitter handle, and ideally their followers, if they're interested in what you've got to say or what that person's saying, will click on your Twitter handle, be able to see who you are and what you do, and hopefully follow you back. Okay? So moving into the actual context of what we're saying, what should you tweet? It's an interesting question. It's one that you should really clearly think about before you post anything. Think about why you're saying it, what the purpose. So 2 key points: what content will provide value to your customers, and what content will provide value to your business. Answering these questions will help you understand what kind of content you need to be creating, and also what subject that content needs to be addressing. Providing value to your customers could be providing case studies about a specific part of your business or the industry you work in. Maybe a 10-point blog that provides step-by-step way to develop a certain process or work through a certain idea. What content will provide value to your business? Again, that's going to be stuff that shows some certain expertise in a particular area, that means that other people are looking at your business and saying, oh yeah, they're really good at that, let's follow them, let's have a conversation with them. So really, when you're thinking about the content you're putting out there, before you post it, think about it. Think about it from the context of what you want to see as well. When you are writing a tweet, before you post it, read it through and think, well, would I be interested in that? And if you think you are interested in it, it's probably a good tweet. If you read it through again over and think, would I be interested in that, and think, maybe not, then maybe it's not worth tweeting. But just have a process for that, and a process where you actually think through what you're saying and what you're posting in terms of what you might get back in terms of business value. So the most common form of tweet, obviously, is the simple text post, which you'll all be familiar with. And this can include anything from a quote, a stat relevant for your sector, a question, a link to an article, or a post on your company's blog. So there's a million things you can connect to in terms of a simple text post. It's a very quick and easy way to create some content online. And which of the above options you decide to go for will depend on what your company's social media objectives are overall. So if the object is to build communications, then posting a question would be a great option. And that's again another thing to think about if you're doing simple text posts. What's the context? What do you want to happen when you post that? Image and GIF posts usually have most engagement actually out of any of the tweets. Tweets that contain an image are 3 times more likely to be favorited and retweeted by other users. And I guess the kind of proliferation of cats on social media is probably the key example of that. You post a picture of a nice cat doing something nice, and obviously it'll get favorited and retweeted. I'm getting some odd looks from around the room here, but fair enough. GIF posts are a good middle ground between posting an actual image and a video. You can upload a GIF straight into a tweet, and a GIF is basically a small animation or video that has that is smaller probably than a big image or video, and will be easier for people to share. And it will play automatically on users' timelines, so it's a really good direct way of getting a very short little sample or video advertisement of what you do or how you do something. For instance, if you're, say, you're a hairdresser and you want to post a short video about a specific way of doing hair, you could do a very short little GIF and post that on to try and get some conversations going about that. And best kept to about 6 seconds, so it can be used as a simple form of advertisement and doesn't kind of interrupt too much into what people are doing or the day that people are kind of struggling with. Video posts, these can be either in the form of video uploaded straight to your tweet via the app, much like an image or a GIF, or via Twitter's video app, Vine. And that would send a link, obviously, in the tweet. Videos will play automatically in the user's feed, but will not have any sound unless the user clicks to unmute. And that's really worth bearing in mind, because you can produce a great video with great sound, a great commentary, but obviously unless someone's watching it and presses unmute, they won't hear that. And if someone's using their phone and they're out and about, they're in a shop, for instance, and they get a notification you've tweeted and they see a video, they're probably unlikely to click on mute if they're in a public place. So it's worth bearing that in mind just in terms of how you create the content, and also what your content's going to try and deliver. Simply because if there's a lot of good sound and commentary on it, it might get lost in translation, just simply because the people actually accessing that may not be listening. So think about that when you're putting together the content. Video content should be short. Obviously, you don't want to be watching a 10, 15, 20-minute video on your phone or via Twitter. And it should make sense to the user without any sound to get the most impact. So the next thing to look at is hashtags. You're probably all familiar with hashtags and the context that you would use those in. And they basically is the best tool to help get your content seen by a wider audience. But not used correctly, they can also have the opposite effect. Too many hashtags, for instance, in a tweet will appear spammy. A tweet made up of hashtags, it doesn't look good, doesn't feel good, and doesn't really get a message across or attract interest. And there are, it could hurt your brand authority. The most effective use of hashtags is to pick 2 of the most used and relevant ones. Even though this might decrease the amount of people who see your tweets, it'll ensure that the right people see them and also increase valuable engagement. So how do you choose the hashtag? There's a website you can go to, which you can see here, which is hashtagify.me. And you can use this online tool to check the popularity of relevant hashtags. It'll give you a rough percentage of usage and also show you related hashtags that you could use. It's really useful just from that point of view of making sure your hashtags are really targeted. You should also check the tweet activity tool to try and gauge what level of engagement each hashtag receives. This is done best by posting a tweet with the exact same copy, but with a different hashtag and comparing the engagement between the 2, and then you'll be able to see which one was most effective, and then you know which one is going to work best next time. The tweet activity tool can be accessed via the bar chart icon underneath your posted tweets, so it's quite easy to find. But you can only use this for tweets you've posted, not for retweets, so bear that in mind. And it's a really good way of just monitoring exactly what you're doing and where the hashtags are having the most effect and which tweets are actually driving traffic and keeping the conversations going. So let's move on to Twitter ads. Excuse me. Twitter ads are a very affordable way to reach a wider audience and can be much more targeted than your tweets can be when using hashtags. The promoted tweets appear just like normal tweets on people's news feeds, so it's not as though they'll get some kind of big interruptive ad on their Twitter feed. They'll literally just see a post from you. They come in 3 different forms: normal tweets, tweets attached to a Twitter card, and lead generation cards. And there's also a whole range of different targeting criteria within Twitter, so you can very accurately target your audience. So how do we create a Twitter ad? There's a few things to define first. Again, going back to our initial starting point for Twitter, define the objective. This could be built around the goals that you have with Twitter generally, your business goals, what are your growth plans, for instance. Is it to drive traffic to your website, gain more followers, get more engagement? If you understand those things and can define those objectives, it'll help Twitter define what a conversion should be for your promoted tweet. You need to also define who you are targeting: age, location, interest, online behaviours, users who have previously visited your website, for instance. And then think about your budget and your campaign length. A short campaign length could sometimes be more effective than a longer one, but you might get not as big results. A longer campaign is easier to monitor in terms of seeing where the key points are that there's been success or high following coming back from that. So a normal Twitter ad will consist of 140 character tweet. You have the option to add to that with a Twitter card, and this will link to your chosen website URL and include a headline, an 800 by 320 image, and a call to action button. So a call to action button literally asking them to book tickets, click on download this content or something like that. Adding Twitter cards is encouraged, and it's something we do quite a lot, because these garner a great deal more engagement and click-throughs than just a text tweet alone. Obviously a text tweet will give a certain context and maybe a URL, but a Twitter card will allow you to just build something quite attractive, and as we said before, images are things that people will click on more than they will a normal text. So Twitter cards are also saved under the Creative tab in the Ads Manager, and you can then choose to use them again for other promoted tweets. So once you've created one, it will be in Ads Manager, and if you're doing a similar campaign in a month's time, you can use the same cards again, so you don't have to keep regenerating that content. You can also use those for free as well, and they'll only be served to your followers. So you can set up Twitter cards that just to give some kind of more interesting interactive content to get more traction to things like your website if you want to just serve it to your current followers. Lead generation Twitter cards are similar to the website cards, but these allow you to collect email addresses direct from the tweet, which is a really useful way of getting more followers, but also getting that key bit of information that will allow you to start nurturing those conversations and partnerships with businesses you want to work with. To create a lead generation card, go to the Creative tab in the Twitter Ads Manager. For this, you'll need a short description for your ad, an image, call to action, and a link to your website's privacy policy in order to make sure that people can be reassured that you're going to use their data properly. And then a URL to your website. And again, these are saved after use and can be used again. So if you've set up one campaign, you can use it again in a month's time without too much effort. You can also, again, you can do that for free to just your own followers. So if you've got a good load of followers who are businesses that you want to work with, that are starting to build up quite well, then you could do a lead generation tweet to just your followers, and it wouldn't cost you anything, and it would help you to start gaining those email addresses and generating more conversations. Okay. So let's look at targeting the audience now in terms of tweets and ads generally. There's a huge range of targeting options that you can use to expertly target your audience for your ads, and these include a long list of things: location, gender, language, devices and platforms, keywords, people they follow, events they've shown an interest in, emails from your own lists, TV shows they've shown an interest in, behaviour away from Twitter, what kind of sites they've visited, are they online shoppers, etc. So there's hundreds of different ways you can target people. And that can get quite confusing just in terms of the amount of stuff you can target, so it's worth going back to your original purpose and being able to define who you're targeting by what exactly you want to achieve. So let's quick look at analytics then, which obviously is the tool that gives you a detailed overview of your engagement of your Twitter account and the engagement you received over a 28-day period. It's crucial really just in terms of keeping track of how your engagement mentions, impressions and followers are growing or decreasing month by month in order to be able to respond to that. If you're seeing a massive drop-off in followers or engagement, then you need to look at your analytics and decide exactly how you're going to repair that. You'll be able to make judgments about what you're doing well and what you're not doing well, what's working, what isn't, and actually readdress those things in terms of how you move forwards to change those things. The overview also shows what your top tweet was for that month, who your top follower is, and how many tweets have linked to you, and how many profile visits your account has received. So all really good information just in terms of managing what you're doing with Twitter. So a quick rundown of the tabs in analytics. Home, this is the page that gives you a complete overview of all the engagement on your account over the last 28 days. So you can download that information as well, so you can start to monitor month by month exactly what's worked and what hasn't. Tweets, this page shows how many impressions, engagements, link clicks, retweets, favourites and replies your tweets have received over 28 days. And this data is shown in both graph and table 4. And there's quite a lot of information in there, but it's really useful in terms of being able to see which tweets have actually been more effective in generating followers, generating conversations and engagement. Followers, here you'll see what interest your followers have, how many followers you have, gender, what wireless carrier users use, and your top language. So you can actually get a profile of the kind of followers you have in that context. Twitter cards will show your Twitter cards percentage of URL clicks, retweets, impressions, change over time, card types, your links and accounts of linked to your content, tweets and sources. So again, a lot of information, but really valuable in terms of how your Twitter cards are actually working for you against the objectives that you set right at the beginning. And then in tools, in the App Manager, if you want to advertise in that, there's the event calendar that tells you any upcoming events worldwide, and also conversion tracking. Okay. So some summarisations really now. Followers don't mean a thing if they have no value is an interesting statement, but basically follower numbers are one of the most overused metrics by businesses when determining the success of social media. But the reality is anyone can get thousands of followers, but not everyone can collect thousands of valuable followers. And it's a really important point in that you should be focusing more on engagement and brand awareness rather than your number of followers. You can have thousands and thousands of followers, but how many of them are actually interacting with you online? If you know it yourself, you follow lots of people online on your phone, and you get notifications from those ones you're interested in. There's a lot of stuff being posted in your timeline on Twitter, people you're following, that you don't probably even see, simply because you're not able to look at it all the time. So bear that in mind when you're thinking about what you want to achieve with Twitter. There's a huge amount of spam bots and spam accounts out there as well that will happily follow you in return for a follow or a retweet. But of course, for business, they're empty leads. They won't be buying your products or services, and will be just become a number in your list of followers, and actually there'll be no engagement, there'll be no interaction, there'll be no conversation, so they're completely useless to you. So how to gain valuable followers and avoid spam accounts? Well, basically by providing relevant, helpful and informative information, as we've talked about. Your own blog posts, other articles your followers may find interesting. Make sure you're giving your followers value. By providing value, you will get followers who are actually engaging with you rather than just following you. And this is what will set you in people's minds as thought leaders and industry experts. And that's what will start the conversations. This, combined with good customer-friendly and approachable persona on Twitter, will help build strong, loyal relationships with your customers. Avoid following accounts with high following number. Don't just look at Twitter and go, well, that guy's got loads of followers, let's follow him. Because they've probably got low followers as well, and they tend to be spam accounts. And also, avoid accounts with no favourites and a large number of retweets on the newsfeed, as these are usually spam bots. So look out for those things and just make sure the people you're following are genuine accounts and genuine, interesting people. And you'll be able to see that quite clearly by looking at the kind of thing they're tweeting as well. Just a final thought on kind of security and stuff, really. If you have staff members within your company who are using social media accounts for the business, or they're using their own social media accounts under a business name, make sure you have a social policy. This basically protects you and your staff, really. It just allows you to set some guidelines for your employees, ensuring they keep up a positive business image. And the policy will usually include guidelines on using language, inappropriate images, and talking negatively about the company. And just provides some security to make sure that you all understand why you're doing social media and the outcomes and the purposes that you want to achieve. So in summary, define your business goals at the beginning, not later on. What do you want Twitter to achieve for your business? Set out a social media plan to define the types of posts, ads you tweet, how often you'll tweet, who you'll follow, etc. Define the kinds of metrics you're going to use and how you're going to use them to tell if you're achieving that objective you set out at the beginning. And keep track of your progress. Don't just tweet away and allow things just to wander off. Make sure you're monitoring on a weekly or a monthly basis, whichever you can manage best. And set up those spreadsheets and documents so that you can monitor that on a monthly basis and make sure you're reacting to it as well. And start conversations. Follow people you're interested in. Manage customer service efficiently. That's a crucial one. And finally, keep it interesting and informative. Okay, that concludes our Twitter Masterclass. Thank you very much for joining us on Periscope. I hope it's been informative. If anyone does have any specific questions, we'll do our best to answer them now. Thank you.
Someone said before that they are 50 years old and not tech savvy. Why should they use Twitter?
Okay. That's a good question. Well, it goes back to business objectives. If you're managing and running your own business, then using Twitter should be about engaging with people. Simple as that, really. It goes back to that aspect of what we've been saying. If your business, if you have interesting stuff to talk about in relation to your business, your life, whatever, then Twitter is useful for that. It's useful for sharing ideas and having conversations. And I would say that whatever age you are, Twitter can be used effectively for all those purposes. Okay, well, if there's no other questions, then we'll conclude the session there. Thank you all for joining us. We will be doing another marketing masterclass in a month or two's time, and we'll be posting information about that on our website and emailing out details as well. If you go to the School of Business website, we'll be posting this slideshow and possibly the video as well on there, so you'll be able to view it again. And of course, if you do have any further questions that haven't occurred to you whilst we've been doing this, you can tweet us at RTD_group or directly tweet me at RTD_Mike. Thank you very much.